So you're looking at the Waikiki skeleton in Andahuaylilas, estimated at being, or carbon dated at being 900 years old. And we have a gentleman with us. Could you tell us who you are and
Hi.
what your profession is?
My name's Lee Smith. I'm a physician. I'm an emergency physician by trade, so pediatrics is not my specialty. But I am looking at a skull, and it appears to, by the size, to be that of a child. The first thing that catches your eye is on the top is the sort of diamond shaped, if you will, what would be called the anterior fontanelle. We're all born with, but typically closes. You know, the soft spot is, you know, lay people sometimes describe it. It's one in the back, and there's usually some on the side, but they're real small. But by 18 months, that should be closed, so it's very suspicious that that's open. So that would lead you down the path of saying that, you know, it's a pediatric thing, plus the size of the skull looks to be that of a child. But then as you look at the teeth, those are certainly well developed. You'd have to actually count. There are 20 teeth in the pediatric population and 32 supposed to be in the adult population. So these would be the deciduous teeth, but you get the two incisors, the lateral incisors and the canines. So this would be like a premolar up and down. And it's not clear because I don't see any eruptions from down below that would lead you to believe that there's something else coming on. So it's very it's odd. I mean, I don't know that this could be easily put together as some kind of ruse, but it's certainly a confusing picture. And then on your side over here, I'm assuming that this is sort of an adult skull here.
Right.
But if you look right above the ridge here, just posterior to the eye, there's a little prominence of the bone here that we call the temporal ridge, where all the muscles attached to. And on the younger child, there's a deficit in there, like the bone has been not quite right. It's not present on this side, and I can't say if that's traumatic or what. But then you look at the ribs, and those are well developed. You know, and a child's rib cage is much more compliant than an adult's. So that leads you to think that it's an older, because of the calcium in there too. So it's, what I'm seeing is confusing picture.
Well, one thing is they have actually x-rayed the head.
Mm-hmm.
And they found no presence of secondary teeth coming out.
Okay.
Should that be present even in a very young human?
No. I mean, they're called deciduous teeth or milk teeth because, you know, they fall off just like the leaves of a tree, and, you know, they start, you know, they erupt, you know, start around 6 months, and then, you know, they all get pushed out secondarily by the permanent teeth, if you will. But they can last up until you're 12 years old before your permanent teeth come in. But if this were an adult and those are permanent teeth, that's a very odd-looking adult with some very pediatric features.
So
certainly very strange.
Well, could you in any way estimate how old this person would be at the time of death?
Not me. I can't, I wouldn't even venture a guess. It wouldn't even be anything other than that, just a wild-ass guess.
And are there any medical conditions that you can think of that would cause this head to be this shape?
No.
Well, finally, are we, in your mind, are we looking at a Homo sapiens sapiens?
Good question. I cannot tell you the answer to that. I hope. But even the femur, I mean the radius in the arm there is well developed, as is the ulna and the radius there, and the it certainly has a lot of things that make it look, you know, like an older, you know. Some of the bony structure appear to be adult-like. Let's say that way.
I don't know. And we also have an American nurse with us, and we would like her to give her, if she wants to, she can tell us who she is and just give us her observations as to what she's looking at.
Hi, I'm Noelle Evers, and I'm really struck by the narrowness of the eyeball sockets, which is actually seeing the narrowness of the jaw. It's kind of the pointiness of it. That seems out of place to me. I don't understand it, and I don't have any kind of expertise with pediatrics, but certainly the teeth just look almost like somebody placed them in there. It doesn't look like it even belongs to that skull, but I trust that that is as it was found. So it just seems very strange to me, and I can't really comment on the ribs as were commented on earlier as being well formed or not. I'm not a pediatric nurse, but it's the face more than anything, the narrowness of the eyeball sockets, continuing on down to the pointiness of the chin and those large teeth that just, to me, are the most striking features that are so anomalous.
Yeah. Well, I've seen it from within a foot because I've seen it outside the glass case. So one thing I definitely looked at were the teeth, and he would have to have had exceptionally good carving tools of some kind to be able to shove those teeth in, because from my observation, as amateur as it is, the contours of the sockets and the contour of the teeth themselves match like very well. With no evidence of there being any cutting into the sockets in order to get those teeth to fit.
Right. Yeah, you would destroy the actual piece, just trying to fit something like that in, and that wouldn't make sense. I trust that those are as it was found.
So in your estimation, are we looking at Homo sapiens sapiens here?
That is not any kind. No, I can't. That's something I really don't have any understanding of, because it's not anything that I'm familiar with.
Right.
The skull over here on the right, I think, is given as an example of a normal skull. It's an adult,
right,
presumably, but the difference is it's striking. I don't understand what I'm looking at. It's like I say, quite anomalous, and I don't. It has me scratching my head.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's more or less the opinion of any medical professional who has looked at it.
Yeah, it's quite extraordinary.
So you can see we're in a very strange area. This block of andesite weighs 15 tons. The quarry is 70 kilometers plus off in that direction. How would it have been brought here? How could it have been brought here? This one is broken. And the break is not only ancient, but what kind of force would it take to break something like that? If it was a flaw in the stone, one would think that that flaw would have caused the stone to break while it was being transported from the quarry 70 kilometers away. It could in fact be evidence of an ancient major cataclysm that not only destroyed the original site itself, but also those who lived here. And you can also see here where someone was attempting to break pieces off, this area there, they basically gave up, because the stone is about 7 on the Mohs scale. The hardest stone we know of is diamond at 10. This is about 7. And the surfaces here again are incredibly flat for such a big thing. How could some primitive Bronze Age or even less than Bronze Age culture have achieved such astonishing accuracy? So in the oldest work, again, these incredible precision surfaces like this, no ornamentation. It seems totally practical, except this here is a reoccurring symbol. To me, it seems like it's almost as though it's the manufacturer's mark. And there's only one location that I've ever seen that symbol before, and that's in a very obscure little cave in the Sacred Valley of Peru. But that symbol repeats over and over again, especially in the famous so-called H blocks over in Pumapunku. Okay, we're inside what's called the subterranean temple. You see all the heads on the wall, on all four walls, and this is a depiction, supposedly, of Viracocha, the creator god. What's intriguing is you'll see that he has a beard, and that is very atypical of Native American people. However, this is not a fine sculpture, and it's also made out of red sandstone. What we're going to see through that gate is a much finer, much larger figure of Viracocha made out of harder andesite material. Some people are convinced that every type of human being around the world is portrayed in this subterranean courtyard, but the workmanship of the faces is really very crude, so that's very much a generality, and I personally don't believe it. You do see some people with headdresses that may possibly be from or similar to other cultures, such as the Olmec of Mexico, but to make a statement that all of them, or that all of humanity is represented in this wall, is really pushing it a bit far, I think. And a real problem with the subterranean temple we're in is that it was reconstructed in the 1960s, and so whoever supervised the reconstruction didn't really know exactly what it originally looked like, and they just took stone from the area and filled these walls in. These megalithic stones are probably original, but the other ones could have been from different buildings, from different areas of this site. So that is actually very sad, because it's not a smart idea to do, such as this kind of work. This makes the ancient builders' work look like a mess, when in fact what the ancient builders did was probably far superior to this. So it was the ignorance of archaeologists randomly picking stone and shoving it in the wall, randomly finding places for these heads to go. And it's really a tragedy, because this does not represent what this subterranean building or area originally looked like. So we're at the famous Sun Gate, and you see the relief carving on it. You see the precise flatness of the surface as I go around it here. That's astonishingly smooth. And then around the backside, amazing levels of erosion. So what they do know is that it was lying face down. This was exposed to the elements, and that's why there's so much erosion to it. We also see these false doors, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and the real door in the center. All of them, you see the pattern. You see the double jam system on top, or double lintel on top. That, I think, is indicative of the original builders of the Pumapunku and this Tiwanaku site. How old? Arthur Poznansky, who spent decades studying this site in the 20th century, and an early user of archaeoastronomy, believed this site could be as old as 17,000 years. And of course, when he made that statement, his life was destroyed. Next, we go over to the Viracocha. So this is a famous sculpture of supposedly the god Viracocha, or maybe the one sent by Viracocha, called Viracochan. It is most likely that it was made by the Tiwanaku culture, because that is what all of the inscriptions are on it from their culture. But the stone itself is the andesite that comes from Copacabana, 70 kilometers away. If you look at the actual base of it, what you can tell is that that is a very precise flat surface on this side and on all four sides. So originally this may have been a square, like a long square, and that then the people who lived here, the Tiwanakan culture, may have done the actual carving, but it's not a sophisticated piece of artwork as compared to the flat surfaces that we saw at Pumapunku and around this area. Quite unexpectedly, here at Tiwanaku, we've been told there are some elongated skulls. So our group is going to go check them out in this strange little hut thing. Whoa, holy fuck.
Holy shit.
Oh yeah. Holy crap.
Especially the second one.
What a find. Yeah.
This site is called the Temple of the Rainbow, but I don't know what the Inca Quechua term is. It's a very large megalithic site above Sacsayhuaman, which is above the city of Cusco. Notice this this cutout placed there. So there are a lot of places in Cusco, the Sacred Valley of Peru, and above Cusco, which are called ceremonial places, meditation spaces, etc. And it's an overdone term, but this place we're going to see is just that. It's absolutely incredible, ancient, most likely pre-Inca. So you can see it's not the easiest place to get to, but it's well worth the effort. This little aqueduct follows the ancient Inca trail we're on, and it's something that the Inca did wherever possible. So then it's down this little Inca trail, and then below, that's an ancient Inca trail. And around this corner is the cave. So now actually we're high above the cave, because we're entering from the other side. And here, if you look closely, you can see how the bedrock is enhanced with Inca work. Those cube stones are the work of the ancient Inca people. And up here, you see the Inca stonework. And as I pull back with the zoom, the entrance to the massive cave. This is an Inca site, but it's been so heavily recycled. The stone walls have been taken out and recycled for probably people's houses and things over the course of 500 years. But this finally is the entrance to this quite massive cave. The cave entrance is here, and then the actual cave itself is over here.
I don't think you get the magnitude of the scale of it, but I'll show you because I'll go deeper in. And now I'm more or less at the back wall, but it's not simply a wall that ends. The stream and the tunnel continue that way. You might be able to see the faint light at the end, but that is the place where we started in the civil film. Without bothering to put on something for the microphone to dampen the wind is part of the experience, because this is the way out of the tunnel. The actual location of this tunnel I'm not going to give, because some people in Cusco know about it, some do not. The local people do not want it to be a major tourist attraction, but if you search hard enough, you'll find out where this incredible tunnel system is. This is only one of them, outside the city of Cusco, Peru. But I can possibly show it to you via www.hiddenincatours.com.